Don't miss out on the last few weeks of football action with Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching the playoffs. The app is simple. Pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Download the Prize Picks Daily Fantasy Sports app today and use code FIELD and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code FIELD on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
This is the Jeanine Pirro Show. Now, here's Judge Jeanine Pirro.
Joining us is senior medical analyst for Fox News. He is also someone that we relied on tremendously during the pandemic. You all know him. He's really smart. He's written a lot of books. His name is Dr. Marc Siegel. Dr. Siegel, you know, a lot of people wouldn't even think that there's a connection between their medical health and the election of a president. But the president can make a difference in terms of everyone's health, in terms of policy. Explain that.
By the way, he made that very apparent the other day when he put together one of his classic mini summits between the head of Oracle and the head of OpenAI and the money guy. So basically, he was saying this is something that's been overlooked, but we're going to outcompete China. And when it comes to our health, we've entered an era about 10 years ago, which the Biden administration completely ignored. I mean, I don't know, the president at that point may not have realized that we were even up to the point where stethoscopes were used. I'm not sure. But the part that we're at, which the president absolutely recognizes 2 days into his administration, is personalized medicine, identification and cures guided by AI. Now, why would AI be so important with that? Mm-hmm. Judge, it's because we're all different. And because AI and machine learning and having these huge data banks, which the president is literally building with the help of private industry. Remember President Trump and public-private partnership? He's going to build these huge data banks that are going to allow AI computers to look into your blood and say what your risks are. And then once we know your risks, we can combine that with treatments that work for you and don't work for me. We can say, you have a 38% chance of getting X. Let's take this treatment in advance of X. That's the future of cancer treatments, and that's what they were getting at. That's what Larry Ellison was getting at. That's what is going to happen. This was an enormous step. Now, this involves the private sector. And it doesn't involve some crazy partnership between insurance companies and the government where all real costs are obscured and the insurance companies use it to jack up prices that are then basically passed on the way of premiums. It's called Obamacare. So this is kind of an anti-Obamacare approach.
Well, you know, Dr. Marc Siegel, the amazing part of it is they talked about AI being used in medicine, and they called something after that super AI, where they can find out from a blood test whether genetically you're inclined to get cancer, and then they can create a vaccine. I mean, this is incredible stuff, and the government's not paying for it. The President Donald Trump he's tapping the wealthiest, whether it's Larry Ellison or the gentleman Massa. I think he's from
Massa's the second or third richest man on the planet, and Sam Altman.
Right, AI. But that all is phenomenal, and they've already started building these centers that have to be apparently a minimum of 1 million or 500,000 square feet. It is incredible. But let's talk about the president taking us out of the World Health Organization and how that impacts all of us.
By the way, before I get to that, I want to just one more point a brilliant point you just made. I got to comment on, which is basically it's called the liquid biopsy. What you're talking about,
really,
literally
I didn't know
a liquid biopsy. One drop of Judge Jeanine's blood will be able to tell us in the future exactly what to do, how to prevent cancer, and create a cancer vaccine that is individualized to her. In terms of the World Health Organization, this is another bravo, courageous move that your friend and mine, President Trump, is characteristic of him, which is he doesn't take prisoners. Here's what he's saying to the World Health Organization, and it's pure business common sense. We pay 15% of your budget, WHO. Mm-hmm. What do you and Tedros, the leader, he's talking right to Tedros, who's accused of genocide in Ethiopia in 2015.
Is he even a doctor, this guy Tedros?
Yes.
No, he is.
No. I was about to say that. He's not even a doctor. Mr. Tedros, he's saying, we're paying you 15% of your budget. What are we getting for it? I know what we're getting for it. You're hiding China. You're hiding China from the world in terms of health. So you're buddying up with China. Some Chinese public officials are part of the WHO at a high level. The upper creme de la creme of WHO literally protects China from telling the world what the global health risks are. So Trump's saying, why are we paying for that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Why are we basically giving them a 1-year warning, Judge? You know, they got a year to cut this out because there are some real scientists in the WHO, thousands of them that are working on Ebola, that are working on HIV, and measles. We want them involved, but we've got to get some for our money. That's what the president's saying. What are we getting for our money here?
Yeah, and even worse than that, what we're getting is a slanted, China-oriented agenda that we don't want, we don't need. And you know,
it's dangerous to us too. It's dangerous to the welfare of the United States. So it's actually a national security issue.
Exactly, and you know, getting us out of the World Health Organization is great. Plus, there's also, doesn't the World Health Organization? I could be wrong about this, Dr. Marc Siegel. Don't they decide when there is a pandemic? I mean, they can create one, they can call it one. My understanding is they've got incredible power to basically identify something and then cause all of the consequences that we saw during our last pandemic.
And you, as usual, right on the pulse. In January of 2020, I was pointing out, then Twitter, the WHO said China bought the world time. It's a regional problem only. They were head in the sand ostriches deliberately to protect China from blame. Didn't help us get our boots on the ground there. It was already spread to Italy and on into the United States. By the time President Trump put in his travel bans, it had already spread because the truth was hidden from us. That obfuscation is what characterizes the upper level, the political level of the WHO, which, again, is an arm of China, and we're paying for it.
Well, yeah, and of course with President Trump, I mean, we're no longer a part of this global group that makes decisions as to whether or not we're going to follow their agenda and whether or not we're going to allow them to dictate as they did during the pandemic. I mean, so many doctors were punished. Their licenses were drawn into question. I think some even lost their licenses in California based upon the lie. And the amazing part of it is Joe Biden, as corrupt as, he already is, he gives Fauci a pardon, a preemptive pardon. This guy Fauci, for what he did, the money he made in locking us down, forcing us to take a vaccine that people are now trying to get out of their system. I mean, this guy should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law.
Well, listen, I actually, as you know, believe in this vaccine to a large extent. But in terms of what you're saying that I completely agree with is Fauci believes in a global consortium of scientists that somehow are protecting the world. Meanwhile, does anyone out there believe that a Chinese scientist who's under the thumb of the Chinese military that's stationed right outside your lab is literally ponying up the truth? They're not. They're not. So the virus comes from a lab, most likely, and of course it doesn't come to public recognition. Here's the most important medical point, Judge. By the time this virus got here, we didn't know what we were dealing with. Nobody warned us that it causes blood clots, that it causes all this inflammation in the lungs, that it causes brain fog. This thing just hit us like a sledgehammer, and we had no clue. So why should we be paying for that kind of warning system?
Well, not only that, but the whole idea, as you say, of a globalist consortium of scientists, there wasn't that. There was one guy, Fauci, who said, I am the science. You fool. You are not the science. Anyone who questioned him was considered, they had to cancel them. They had to shut us down. I think I must tell you, Dr. Marc Siegel, that
I agree with this point. Nobody is the science. Science is science. And when someone starts talking like that, you're hearing dogma, not science.
Yeah, you're hearing dogma.
You wonder about motives, absolutely. And at the very beginning of the pandemic, when we were trying to figure out where this virus came from, and we weren't allowed in Wuhan, he was sending out memos saying, hey, that's not the narrative we want. Well, that's not what public health is. We need openness and we need the full disclosure.
Enough about him. I'm just furious that he got this preemptive pardon, but at the same time, I think that we need to identify what he did.
Judge Biden was pardoning thousands of murderers. I mean, what were these pardons? People.
Okay, here's my favorite. He gave clemency to nonviolent inmates, and that nonviolent inmate category included a Connecticut child killer. He was a Connecticut drug kingpin who killed a mother and her 8-year-old son so that she wouldn't testify against his brother, who had already killed the father and husband. He commutes his sentence. This guy, Joe Biden, as far as I'm concerned, is un-American, anti-American, and that is outrageous. There is no excuse.
That is so horrible. By the way, I wonder if he would use dementia as an excuse, saying, I don't know what I signed.
Yeah, well, no, he and Jill and all of them. Let me go back to one more thing, though. The overall health status in the United States, Dr. Marc Siegel, is considered poor compared to other high-income nations. Why is that?
Well, the answer is one word: obesity. We have great health care. It's patchy, but we have great health care at our major medical centers. If you suddenly get sick, deathly ill, heart attack, stroke, cancer, diabetes. But the problem is that all of this is happening because of our horrible food system. And that's one of the greatest things that's happening now, which is to take that on head on and say, why do we have so much ultra processed food? Why can't I go out to dinner with Judge Jeanine and have a bowl of pasta? Why is all of this stuff causing people to gain weight? And the colors in the food looks like it's from outer space. Trying to get a 5-year-old to eat it. Oh, let me have that red. That ain't really red you have,
Yep.
So the whole system of food in this country is awful and needs to be addressed immediately.
And I assume that Robert Kennedy is someone that you think will be a good add to the Department of Health and Human Services?
Yeah, I think that he will take on the food disaster going on in the country right now, and I think that he has the strength and the will to do that, because he's not only going to be taking on FDA people who have covered up some of this, he's going to be taking on big food and also pharma. By the way, pharma does a lot of good in the country, but on the other hand, there's a lot of we're a pill popping society. That's got to change.
Yeah, well, and that is certainly evidenced in the kids who have ADHD and everything else, which is probably from the foods, the processed foods, and the cancerous dyes. What is it? Number 5, number 3, number 2, and then we end up putting these kids on drugs. It's terrible what's happening.
By the way, a huge study came out of the UK today that shows that people with ADHD live 7 to 10 years less.
Really?
Yes, so that puts an exclamation point on it. On the other end of the spectrum, they don't do as well in life. They don't live as long.
Yeah, what a shame. What a shame. It is sad. This country has really ignored the people of this country in terms of their health and safety. And, they're giving us such trouble over some of the nominees by the president. They should be happy that we've got people who really want the job, who want to do the job, who want to help the American people, who are not like other people like Nancy Pelosi's husband just made $40 million on stocks in the last couple weeks of 2024. I mean, they're all in it for the money. It's frightening.
I've heard that Nancy Pelosi has the best hairdresser in the world.
She does? Who is it?
You see, I knew you were going to ask that. It's somebody in San Francisco where she flies every week to get her hair done. So I'll try to get you the skinny on that.
I don't want the skinny on anything having to do with that woman. That woman.
And your hair is perfect as it is. So
yeah, but you know what? She's running again. The woman is going to run again. That's the information that I have.
Well, because now they're telling the Democrat Party has actually made dementia a criteria for running again.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? And, you know, in the weeks leading up to the inauguration, to make that much money, I hear that people can actually follow their stock purchases, although I imagine it's months later when they file disclosures. But we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, Dr. Marc Siegel, I want to thank you for joining us this morning on the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation show. We wish you success, and we look forward to having you back on this show.
You are part of my success, Judge, and it's a great pleasure to be on with you.
Thank you, Dr. Marc Siegel, everybody. We love him. Take care.
It's the Judge Jeanine Show.
It's playoff time, and it's now or never. Don't miss out on the last few weeks of football action with Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching the playoffs. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. The app is really simple to use. Pick 2 or more players across any sport. Pick more or less on their projection, and you can win up to 1,000 times your money. Prize Picks now offers MasterCard for quick and easy deposits into your account this sports season. Join Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app, available to play in more than 40-plus states, including California and Texas. Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching the playoffs. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code GOAL and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code GOAL on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.